Okay, you want to hear something sad? The Marvel Cinematic Universe. There, you should be crying your eyes out. Had to do everything in my power not to curse right there. I just watched the Punisher little short special thing that they released, and I am just so unbelievably confused. I don't understand exactly when this is supposed to be taking place. I would assume it's before the Spider-Man movie that's coming out, but it would have to be sometime after the Daredevil show, the second season of the new Daredevil show, I guess. And even then, none of that made any sense because it was like it seemed like he just happened to be in a particular part of New York that was in an uproar, but they made it seem like all of New York was screwed up. And again, the entire time I'm looking at it, I'm going, "Where's Spider-Man? Where's everybody? Like everything isn't this bad." And then it's like if it was terrible because of Kingpin, then yeah, but that would have been because of police brutality. But we know for a fact that the streets got better. They just arrested the dirty cops are responsible for basically getting all the vigilante people. So there still were regular cops around. So it's not as if everything would just turn to shit. So having this crazy ass setup didn't make any sense. Just to showcase like, oh, everything's all bad, and then if Punisher comes and kills people, that's gonna straighten them out. It didn't make any sense. And then you try to vilify this by having a homeless man lose his dog as if that was supposed to be just that terrible or worth the life of someone else. But whatever, just there's way too many cuts and scenes in that show where it's like it just didn't make any sense. Like near the end, there's a part where a guy's about to hit a couple walking on the sidewalk, and then the Punisher kicks him. And when the Punisher kicks him, everybody that was on the sidewalk just magically disappears to not witness the murder that he's about to commit. It's very goofy. But the overall special was bad because it could have been and should have been a movie. You have an unnecessary amount of time wasted on Frank Castle basically tripping. And I say this because he was just caught up in his feelings and basically kind of contemplating offing himself. Whatever. The thing is that you have had multiple incursions with this character since you're using the guy from Netflix, this Frank Castle, where we've seen him deal with the trauma and turmoil of his family being gone. So we've seen him come to terms with the fact that they're gone and then accept his role as the Punisher. We've seen that. You had him set up in the beginning of the Daredevil show as basically, he's just kind of doing his own thing. He don't really care about Kingpin. That also was stupid, considering that he knew where Kingpin was. He knew exactly where the little cage of all those people were at that were vigilantes locked up. He escaped, and knowing Punisher, he would have grabbed his guns and went after Kingpin in broad daylight and tried to murder him. I don't understand why you wouldn't put that inside your show, but, that the Daredevil thing was written by morons. So you start off your show with him essentially upset, contemplating what's going on, and then basically trying to off himself, only to then not do it. And then you have what actually could have been an interesting plot point for his story, or a plot point for a movie or a special if you wanted to do it correctly, on a raid, what's his name, Judge Dredd kind of trip, where a wife of a crime boss and a crime family is getting revenge by putting a bounty on Frank Castle's head after he had killed her entire family and left her paralyzed in a wheelchair. And then he just has to deal with the fact that the people living in his apartment complex are now about to get overrun by all these crazy people who just don't care about life in order to take away his so they can get a payout. And that's fine, and honestly fine. And then you just have Punisher doing Punisher things throughout the entire ordeal, which is where this special led to. And honestly, it was the best part of the whole special. But the problem is that it came way too late, and it was way too short considering all that was happening. Hell, the lady got away at the end. I don't know what the hell was the point of that. Are they expecting to do more with his character? Because again, it seems as if he's going to be a babysitter in the next Spider-Man movie, and that doesn't make any sense because he's the Punisher. Or for Zendaya to talk talk down to him. Like, seriously, Frank Castle is a known criminal who murders people on the fly. She would know that. The only person she forgot about is who Peter Parker is. So Spider-Man would still be a known person to her, as well as Frank Castle. Like she would know more about Frank Castle than she would Spider-Man, but even then, she would fear Frank Castle. Oh, but that was a trailer. I'm sorry, those aren't Spider-Man movies. Those are Iron Boy Jr. movies. Iron Man Jr. or Iron Boy movies. They're just terrible. Anyway, like it doesn't make any sense as to why you would do what you did for your special, because again, at the end, he just killed a bunch of people, got out of the apartment complex, and then the old lady left. And then essentially, rather than chasing down the old lady, instead he went and saved a family that was being ransacked and by these crazy people, when again, the only person everyone should be going after is him, but everyone's just kind of just doing their own thing. But the show started off with everyone just kind of doing their own thing, going crazy and whatnot, so it didn't make any sense. Like, it was like you obviously setting up that something's gonna happen with his family. Something did happen with his family. Whoop-de-fucking-do. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. Not as if I was expecting like some type of grandiose twist or they needed to do anything extravagant with the character, but still, some effort should have been involved in this, where people understood they don't need for him to go through a psychedelic trip down memory lane to dealing with his family, because that's what he constantly suffers from. And then we've already seen that time and time again throughout the other iterations of his character, throughout the original Daredevil series, his series, when they brought back Daredevil again. You just didn't need to do that. He's already solidified at who he is and what he is as Frank Castle, so leave it at that. But then to do that and then have basically essentially what everyone would want from from Punisher, which is basically just hardcore, like, gruesome action, you brought it in, but again, it was too little too late. I enjoyed when the lady was retelling the story about her family and how basically her twisted view of them clouded her from actually what was wrong with them, which is what led to him killing them in the first place. I enjoyed that, as her going down memory lane was essentially wrought with the fact that they were murdered was caused by him, and then she was getting revenge and it was slowly piecing that together. I thought that was cool. But again, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't do nothing. So then at the end of the special, you kind of have him getting revenge on this guy that was just going around terrorizing people in the neighborhood on the streets. And for some reason, it was okay for Frank Castle to kill this person. But also, everything going crazy on the streets was a byproduct of Frank Castle getting rid of a mob family, which also doesn't make sense, because again, you're dealing with the aftermath of Kingpin, Daredevil still being active. Nothing makes sense anymore, because they're choosing for it not to make any sense. Too many heroes exist within the MCU now that work within New York for any of the bull crap to where you're like, oh, stuff is just going way out of hand, and like to justify anything. Hell, having the Daredevil show showcase that there are more vigilantes out there that are just straight up vigilanteing, and then essentially go to the wayside of trying to implement that, oh no, like there's still some craziness going on. Like, it just, you're bad at existing in what you're supposed to be. I mean, hell, and throughout all of what happened in Daredevil, Spider-Man wasn't mentioned once, but that would be a most prominent character for Kingpin to try to go after, as well as a major villain that would try to tackle Kingpin, because how awesome would that have been, to seeing that some of Kingpin's stuff got messed up because Spider-Man just swung through and did a thing, and it just happened to help out Daredevil. But no, that would have just been a cool little nod to how the interconnected world you've built within the MCU actually functions, because that's how the comic book functions. But I digress. I actually happen to be an intelligent person, and you people who write this are not. So yeah, the Punisher special, if you just want to see Frank Castle do some action stuff, you can turn it on and then just skip ahead to shows him walk back to his apartment complex, and then they see this as just skip until you see this old lady in like a roto scooter, access a mechanical wheelchair. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and you see this old lady in a mechanical wheelchair trying to talk to him. Bam, there you go. Then you're gonna get whatever it is that they were trying to do with Punisher, and that'll be the end of that. But other than that, it's just dumb. This was all it ultimately was a waste of time because it didn't do anything. It wasn't changing anything. It wasn't setting up anything special. It wasn't like hardening the character or having him go through something serious or anything like that. It was just weird. It's just this weird clusterfuck of scenarios that essentially was like, well, here's some violence dealing with the Punisher. Here's his trauma dealing with the Punisher, and then we end with him just being, I'm Punisher. But there was never a thing that happened that made him go, well, I'm no longer Punisher. And it's like they just tossed aside just one last little hurrah. This happened to be the last known people responsible for the murder that happened with his family. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't change all that he came to term with earlier, like in other iterations of this Frank Castle. So that wouldn't be something to where it was like, well, now I can stop. But again, written by dummies. So that's it. Yeah, you can watch it or leave it, but ultimately I say just skip to the part where you see a lady sitting in a wheelchair, then you look at it and then you go, that's a Punisher thing. It is like just he put away his gun, so that's the reason why he doesn't have like a crazy ass arsenal to just wreck these people with. But that's it. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. The MCU is just shit. The DC is definitely worse, but the MCU is just, there's no point.